Now to a story causing great consternation and suffering. Take a look at this dramatic footage. You're about to see it's locust swarms of almost biblical proportions. These are the close-ups, but when you get wider, you see this infestation. There you go. That has a devastated huge swathes of land in parts of East Africa in recent weeks. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization says greater and faster action is needed to prevent a humanitarian crisis. The dangerous pest is now affecting, we're told, reportedly 7 countries. Let's get the very latest. Sarah Kimani is our East Africa correspondent. She joins us now live from Nairobi, Kenya. Sarah, very good morning to you. Give us the extent of the damage these desert locusts are causing.
Well, they have caused extensive damage in at least 8 countries now. You earlier said that it is 7 countries, but FAO now puts the number of countries that have been affected as 8, with thousands of hectares of land have been affected. Now, they are also warning that there is a risk of the rainy season that is coming being affected, making it impossible for farmers to plant, and for those who already have produce in their farms, being able to harvest anything. And so there is a looming food security crisis in this region.
Reports that it's affecting 7 countries. What information are you getting there? Can you confirm?
Sorry?
We're getting reports that it's now affecting about 7 countries. Can you confirm this? What reports are you getting, Sarah?
Yes, well, they're in Ethiopia, they're in Kenya, they're in Sudan, Tanzania, parts of northern Uganda, Somalia, Djibouti, and now South Sudan, and also Ethiopia. And now, with all these countries affected, the problem, according to the World Food Program, the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, and also the regional body here, which does climate monitoring, called ISPAC, is that these locusts are affecting the continent, this part of the continent, at a time when it is just recovering from severe droughts. And so they're saying, if this continues, then it means thousands or even millions of people will be without food. These locusts are also coming during the harvesting season. We had some very nice rains during the last season, so the whole place is green. But in areas that they have affected, they're leaving the areas completely devastated. They move in swarms. They're talking about them being able to move at least 150 kilometers. So you can imagine when they come to your village, all you see is a cloud of darkness, and within no time they have devastated the crops. They have and they're not choosing, they're eating everything. Now, while authorities here have put measures to be able to, spray pesticides, they're not able to move as fast as these locusts are moving.
So, Sarah, the worry now is that they, might spread even further than the 7 countries. What is being done to stop this?
Well, in countries like Kenya, they have begun spraying in some of the areas that the locusts have infested. They are also training members of the National Youth Service to be able to now move on foot so that they can increase the number of people who are spraying. But the way they are moving is slower compared to the way the locusts are moving. And so in areas that they have been, you will see desperate measures, rudimentary measures. For example, in one area called Kirinyaga County in central Kenya, when the locusts invaded yesterday, women came out with pots and pans, and they started beating the pots and pans and screaming, hoping that they could send away the locusts. In some places, they are lighting fires, and they are hoping that the smoke that comes out of those fires will be able to send out the locusts. But remember, the locusts are moving with the wind, and it's very windy at this time because the winds are moving on the eastern side of the continent. So they are moving very fast, making it impossible to be able to control. Now, the UN says it needs at least $150 million to be able to control the locusts in the 8 countries that have been affected at the moment.
Yeah, I guess people there are using all means necessary to get rid of these locusts. Reportedly, the locust outbreak is the worst to strike Ethiopia and Somalia for 25 years. And, you know, the worst infestation that Kenya, I understand, has experienced in about 70 years or so. I guess the big question, Sarah, is why is this happening? Why is it happening now? What is the possible cause of this upsurge? Is climate change being put forward as one of the reasons?
Yes. Indeed, experts are blaming this on climate change because, like you said, in countries like Kenya, this is the first time in 70 years. In other countries like Somalia, Ethiopia, it's the first time in 25 years. Now, the locusts have moved from the Middle East and they were pushed by the wind. And they were pushed into this region because it received too much rain, more than normal. And so when they came here, they found fodder, and it is this that they are feeding on. If they are to continue moving in the areas that they are moving, they're actually being directed by the wind. And so they were, according to experts, on the Red Sea side. And so they were moved onto this side. For the longest time, they have been concentrated around the Red Sea in the Middle East. And this is the first time they're being seen in this area in more than a quarter century.
You know, the real fear, Sarah, as expressed recently by the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization's director, is that the already vulnerable populations could easily be pushed into a major humanitarian crisis unless action is taken to protect their livelihoods. And you mentioned the amount that is required to safeguard people. Are people hopeful?
No, the people are disappointed, especially here in Kenya. People are disappointed that the government did not seem well prepared. In fact, President Kenyatta fired one of his cabinet ministers of agriculture and replaced him with another one. But even the one that has been replaced with, a lot of people ridiculing him, saying that he doesn't seem to understand exactly what is happening. And it's not just the government. When the locusts first invaded, the media itself was reporting that, in many communities in Kenya, people eat locusts. And so that was, the talk first. There was not a lot of reporting on the devastating effects of a locust infestation. It's only when they saw them now moving to other parts of the country that they realized that this was serious, and now government also moved in. I must also say, in the first place where they went to, the government actually sent police with tear gas canisters to try and send them away. So it is clear that nobody understood the magnitude and the effect of this, probably because it's been long since they were sighted in these parts of the country.
Yes, Sarah, it's a real concern because according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, a small swarm, the ones that you look at, a small swarm of desert locusts covering about 1 square kilometer can eat the same amount of food in one day as 35,000 people. So destructive indeed. Sarah Kimani, our East Africa correspondent, live for us in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you as always.